But that lady, that new press secretary, she's a gangster.
That video, dude.
She's a gangster. They're prepared. And you know why they're prepared? Because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video.
Watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
Joe Rogan takes down Sunny Hostin after Karoline Leavitt sues The View for $500 million. And the first shockwave is simple. Daytime television just picked a fight with the internet's heavyweight, and it forgot the ref. While pundits on ABC clutched their coffee mugs, Rogan sharpened his mic like a hatchet, ready to swing at anyone confusing decibel level with evidence. One side has lawyers, the other side has elk jerky, Spotify reach, and zero fear of controversy. When the suit landed, Rogan's grin said everything. The old guard finally met a challenger who won't bow, blink, or beg for mercy. Karoline Leavitt's lawsuit didn't drip in legalese. It exploded with it. She watched Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, and Whoopi Goldberg describe her as dangerous, then hauled their comments into court the way a rancher drags a rattlesnake into daylight. Leavitt's demand? $500 million, public retractions, and something rarer: accountability. Instantly, the media cycle spun. Legacy outlets tried framing Leavitt as thin-skinned, but online forums hailed her as the David who finally hurled a subpoena at Goliath. Anyone burned by cable news smear pieces felt the wind shift. Suddenly, the cost of an offhand insult looked like real money. Enter Rogan, bald, amused, and unbothered by studio decorum. From his Austin compound, he replayed the clip of Hostin puffing up her resume, then labeled the whole performance BuzzFeed Law School. He didn't rant. He dissected. He pointed out how the panel equated disagreement with danger, an inflation that turns criticism into a four-alarm fire.
I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah. I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Rogan's audience, accustomed to 3-hour truth marathons, recognized the contrast immediately. Where The View offers 5-minute judgment, Rogan offers depth, ironies, and a reminder that adult conversation involves risk. Rogan highlighted a second irony. The same hosts who chant fact-check everything rarely fact-check themselves. Remember Whoopi's bakery meltdown? She insinuated political bias because cupcakes were late, only to have the family business present boiler repair receipts to prove otherwise. Rogan laughed, then asked the obvious question. If a pastry order can morph into televised outrage, what happens when the target is a rising political strategist tied to Donald Trump? The answer is $500 million of legal thunder aimed straight at mid-morning television. Meanwhile, Hostin tried a preemptive strike, rattling off her law degree on air as though credentials could substitute for caution.
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC.
Rogan swatted that away, noting that legal training without discipline is just expensive arrogance. He reminded listeners that free speech isn't a shield against defamation, and that big platforms magnify both praise and liability. That observation resonated because Rogan himself has faced countless hit pieces, yet his strategy has been transparency over tantrum. Long-form context beats clipped outrage every time. At the heart of the lawsuit sits a broader cultural fracture. Leavitt represents a cohort tired of being labeled extremists for holding right-leaning views. The View represents a media stronghold allergic to ideological diversity. Rogan operates as a roaming referee, willing to host Bernie Sanders and Alex Jones back-to-back simply to expose audiences to contradiction. His verdict on Hostin's segment was brutal yet surgical. When debate becomes a monologue, truth becomes optional. And optional truths, once exposed, unravel faster than a cheap sweater.
If you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about.
The monetary figure, $500 million, sounds outrageous until you measure it against the ripple effect of televised slander. Leavitt's lawyers argue that being branded dangerous harms future earnings and erodes public trust. Rogan amplified that point, reminding viewers that reputational damage in the digital age multiplies with every retweet. One reckless soundbite can bury search results for years, making lawsuits not just retaliation, but survival mechanisms. Listeners who have faced online mobs nodded, realizing courts may be the last refuge for the falsely maligned. Yet Rogan's breakdown wasn't applause for censorship, it was a warning shot at sloppy rhetoric. He urged fans to differentiate heated debate from character assassination, to value messy dialogue over sanitized conformity. In doing so, he spotlighted an uncomfortable truth. The View gains ratings by staging ideological gladiator matches, but refuses to let challengers bring their own weapons. When Leavitt arrived prepared, they called it aggression. When she counterpunched legally, they called it fragility, an inconsistency Rogan shredded with a single raised eyebrow. The saga also underscores a generational shift in trust. Viewers under 40 increasingly skip static panels and seek out podcasters who admit uncertainty. Rogan's willingness to say, "I don't know," beats Hostin's scripted certainty every time. That humility builds retention because audiences sense authenticity. By contrast, The View's brand depends on instant certainty, even when certainty requires imaginative leaps. Each misstep chips away at their credibility, and Rogan's commentary pours salt in every crack.
So Joy Behar went after Joe Rogan on The View, and he fired back spectacularly.
You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this.
Leavitt's case will wind through courts for months, maybe years, but its cultural verdict is already in. Daytime television underestimated the backlash potential of the internet age. Rogan's reaction ensures the story remains oxygenated, circulating beyond cable corridors into gyms, carpools, and late-night Reddit threads. That perpetual motion machine runs on curiosity. People tune in to see if the next episode of Media's self-own goes even further off the rails. And every time The View doubles down, Rogan doubles his download spike. In the end, this isn't merely a lawsuit or a podcast rant. It's a referendum on who controls the story. Leavitt has chosen the courts, The View hides behind applause signs, and Rogan bets on common sense delivered in conversational torrents. As legal briefs pile up like snowdrifts, viewers are left with a choice: curated outrage or unscripted exploration. Judging by Spotify numbers and dwindling daytime audiences, that choice looks more lopsided every quarter. But the final twist is deliciously simple. If The View settles, Rogan will dissect the payout with the enthusiasm of a UFC commentator narrating a last-second knockout. If they fight, he'll livestream every misstep, turning procedural minutia into viral gold. Either way, the bald guy wins, not because he sues, but because he observes, questions, and refuses to treat disagreement as heresy. And that, more than any legal victory, is the real takedown. Rogan also zeroed in on the staggering dollar amount because it forces people to ask why speech suddenly carries price tags larger than some small nation's GDP. Skeptics say the figure is a publicity stunt, yet legal insiders note that punitive damages are calculated to hurt enough that networks remember the sting. Reports claim Leavitt's team analyzed the revenue The View has earned while disparaging political guests and simply flipped the ledger. If true, the lawsuit acts like a mirror daring broadcasters to stare at their own profit-driven provocations. Rumors suggest producers considered inviting Leavitt back for a clarification segment, but pulled the plug when advisors warned it could look like an admission of guilt. Rogan roasted that idea, joking that offering a 5-minute mea culpa after a primetime character assassination is like patching a hole in the Hoover Dam with chewing gum. He argued that legacy outlets rely on quick retractions buried in commercial breaks, whereas defamation suits force a public accounting line by line, transcript by transcript. Beyond the courtroom drama, the dispute touches on a wider American anxiety. The feeling that discourse has become a carnival where everyone shouts, no one listens, and reputations are disposable confetti. Rogan urged listeners to treat the episode as a case study in media literacy. Before sharing a viral clip, he said, "Pause, backtrack, verify." If a bakery story can unravel with one boiler invoice, imagine how many political narratives could crumble with 5 minutes of curiosity. That reminder hit home because it empowers audiences rather than lecturing them. Finally, consider the strategic genius of timing. The lawsuit dropped as election season ramps up, guaranteeing maximum spotlight. Leavitt positions herself as a warrior against institutional bullying. The View doubles down on performative piety, and Rogan harvests the escalating clash for hours of conversation. Each move amplifies the next in a feedback loop of outrage and intrigue. In a landscape where attention equals currency, all three parties are wealthier today than yesterday, though only one seems fully aware of the game, and he's already podcasting the sequel.